everybody? Welcome to an all-new bonus round right here on GameTrailers.com. I'm Jeff Keighley, and this month we are coming to you from the Boyle Mansion that's in Dishonored, coming out in October from Bethesda. And we've got an amazing panel to talk about the state of the industry. Starting with my good friend, Cliff Blazinski, the design director at Epic Games.
Good to see you, Keighley.
Cliffy, good to see you. Tim Schafer, a man who needs no introduction from Double Fine.
Are you going to shake all our hands now?
Yes, good to see you, Mr. Schafer.
Yeah, I'm going to get to you.
I'll reach, and finally, Mikey Newman, the creative director over at Gearbox with Borderlands 2 out this month.
Is it September yet?
It is September.
Okay.
Officially September.
How hard are they working
September.
you there, man?
I don't know where I am right now. September 18th. Yeah, we're super excited. This is gonna be the biggest
Look at
and
the
best
plug
game
even
we
with
ever
the
did,
date
man.
and everything.
Of course, I'm brainwashed.
All right, well, let's get to talking about the state of the industry. The first thing we should talk about, we don't want to start on a down note, but there are lots of layoffs happening. The industry sales are down quite a bit, like 30% this year. What's going on, do you think? I mean, should gamers be worried about the state of the game business?
I think it's morphing. I've said it's the Wild Wild West before, I think, and I think you're going to see more of a bloodbath at kind of your medium-tier developers, whereas it seems like right now it's either you're an indie game or you're just like a giant 8 million plus selling game, right? That whole game in between has kind of dried up for some reason. I just want digital downloads completely on every new console. I mean, everybody's just, you look at Steam and you can put out a game like Amnesia for what, $20 and it can still sell. You can't put that out on consoles right now.
It's annoying to me where it's like I think someone was talking to me about the game Spec Ops, and it's like you should check out the epilogue or whatever. I was like, oh, I'd love to just like download it and check it out. It's like, no, I don't want to go to a store and buy it. And it's just
Animal, like a damn animal.
Savages.
It's
The other day I was gonna dust off Batman and get back to it. Arkham City, phenomenal game, and I couldn't find the disc. And then what did I wind up doing? I just wound up downloading games on Xbox Live Arcade.
Right. No, that's a good point. But so, I mean, Cliff said it's like there are these massive games and the indie games. So I guess you fall in between a little bit.
Yeah.
You're not. I wouldn't say your games are indie games, but you've kind of found a really interesting niche, I think, with these. The Kickstarter game, obviously, the adventure. You just announced a new iPad game. I mean, you're doing some non-traditional things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that is happening now is that there are always these new options for funding and financing games that can bring about new games of different sizes. Just like when Xbox Live Arcade and then all the downloadable games in the last generation meant that small ideas could happen. Everything doesn't have to be a $60 retail game. And these new games emerged, and I think that even more nuanced variations in between those sizes can happen now.
And that's cool as a developer because you don't have to slave for like 2.5 years on something that's going to be a $60 product, and you're like, is this going to work? I don't know. You can bust out a game in 6 months to 12 months, right? And then immediately put it out and keep working on the new ideas, right?
Yeah, so Mikey, do you think we're now getting to a point where, or in the future, we're going to not just see the $60 game, we're going to see sort of everything in between?
I think you're going to see some of that come back. Obviously, we're still kind of figuring out how just the platforms work because it's constantly evolving. I think Gearbox, before, because I've been at Gearbox for 12 years now. I mean, I've seen a lot since the Half-Life expansions we did originally that really got us known.
Not that long, huh?
To the right?
Wow.
Yeah,
You're getting super old.
I just turned 30. I've been in the industry a long time. I'm an old soul at 30.
Can you buy me some beer?
No, but yeah, I mean, when we did Brothers in Arms, the first game did over 3 million, and we were definitely that middle tier developer that Cliffy was saying was disappearing. And as we've grown up, I think that's that. Yeah, you did it.
Some of us are around still.
No, we had to grow up a little bit. I think Borderlands 2 is definitely in.
That's
we've
a
separated.
big game. It's like Skyrim with guns at this point.
I keep thinking everybody's lying to keep coming up and be like, dude, this is the game I'm most excited for ever. And I'm like, really? I mean, the Borderlands is awesome, but I won't admit to myself that we're there.
But they started doing basically the episodic thing with the downloads for Borderlands, right?
Yeah, Borderlands was crazy when we did the DLCs because that was I think definitely in our DNA because we did Opposing Force, Blue Shift. We did Half-Life for PS2 with this co-op campaign called Decay, and I think we really got known because of Opposing Force. And then we were just like, when we do DLC instead of just trying weird things, because I think sometimes people just do small things. We're like, let's just make expansion packs. Let's just bring that idea back. And the tie-in rate, we weren't the most selling DLC ever, but our tie-in rate for Borderlands customers on live that bought the DLC was
north of 20%. It was huge, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like General Knox was one of the greatest things we ever did.
And that's I think people are now buying not just games, they're buying really they're buying in for a year. When you look at something like Halo 4, I mean you're getting the Spartan Ops episodic stuff. I mean a lot of these games are sometimes 2 or 3 games in one, and you're buying in for a game that you're then going to hopefully contribute more to down the road as you
I think the episodic thing is going to continue to come back and grow as games get more digital.
Because years ago, a lot of people talked about that. Everyone wanted to do episodic games, and no one really ended up doing them.
The thing is, when you track the numbers of iPhone games, when you release an update, and it's not a patch now, it's a magical update. It's filled with all sorts of wonderful goodies. It's a patch, but it has good stuff. You see your daily active users just continue to spike every time there's new content. And so episodic gaming was something that years ago, it's going to be big, and then quietly, now that everything's going digital, it's going to be really, really key. I mean, those Walking Dead games are doing fairly well from what I gather.
Yeah.
They're great.
And they used to, even in the 90s or 80s, we wanted to make smaller games just because the risk involved is making a huge game. And they always said we couldn't figure out a way to make a box product on the shelf that you could sell for $15 or $10. And digital definitely opened that up. And now things like free-to-play, I think, are letting people start even smaller. And that's where the whole variety in size comes, because they can start small and grow to like their natural size, and that might go big or bigger than a $60 game, or stay somewhere in a kind of an interesting new realm.
You know what I miss? Going on a BBS and getting shareware. That's what I miss. It was simple back then.
No, but I mean, now
year-olds
hopefully we'll get to a point where you can download demo. You don't even have demos. You just download a game, and start experiencing it. You get the first hour free or something.
I mean, we've been in this business for a little while. This is not our first rodeo. And you think about the idea of free to play. And if I talk to a lot of our guys and then the concept of it, and they cringe because they think of some of the Facebook games and some of these games that are kind of the Vegas-y feeling ones. And it's like, no, dude,
Jazz was free to play.
Jazz had episode 1, and you can do a core free to play game like League of Legends or Hockey.
You invented free to play.
Oh
my God!
Everything is full circle, right?
On the BBSs, software.
Software
creation. That's where it was.
One of the reasons the free-to-play thing, I think, has kind of a bad rap because we're all pretty hardcore developers. We've been doing this a while. I think one of the things that gives it a bad rap is the idea of free-to-play becomes, here's part of a game, it's all nerfed, and if you want to play the real game, you got to buy this stuff
in there.
And
it's crippleware term, right?
Yeah. Especially if it's a game where you're leveling up. Like imagine Borderlands, we did it free-to-play, where if you paid money, you could level faster, and like the whole game, I think, would just fall apart because it's like our game is really about co-op and hanging with your friends.
That's more of a time-gating energy thing, is what that would have been, right? And that starts feeling kind of icky.
I think that's where the free-to-play is sort of just the stigma.
Well, you don't want to sell Smurf berries in Borderlands?
But there's people who've done it really badly, and there's I think some that have done it a little better, make people feel like they have the option. They can play the whole game without paying any money. And the thing that's exciting for me is the idea of being paid, having some funding to stay with your game after you ship. Instead of like, I hope we got that game right, and maybe we can afford a patch or something like that. Yeah. Like you can actually there's a live team that's making it better and better and responding to what the fans are playing the most and giving them more.
And looking at the metrics behind the scene, exactly. So looking at Fortnite and considering that we may just do a small rollout, a beta, and then we may do a limited release, and then now here you can play. We still haven't figured out the financial model for it, but it's not this like $60 bet the farm holiday need $100 million marketing thing anymore. You can just do a quiet release, build up your fan base, and listen to them, and they'll be diehard and take good care of them, and just eventually, before you know, you have this really healthy online community of people who they love your world, and they're more than happy to throw money at getting a new hat because it looks cool.
All right, stick around. We've got more coming up on the bonus round.